Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Miami Heat. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. The 2025 NBA Draft is firmly in the rearview mirror at this point, as the two-day event was held on June 25th and 26th, and teams have shifted their attention to free agency. The Miami Heat might have been close to making a trade with the Milwaukee Bucks leading up to this year's draft though. According to 5 Reasons Sports, Ethan J. Skolnick, Miami and Milwaukee had talks that came close to something before the 2025 NBA Draft. We've heard the Heat have had conversations with Milwaukee that came close to something before the draft but fell through. It wasn't Giannis Antetokounmpo related, Skolnick wrote via Discord. Skolnick added that the deal seems to be dead now. Skolnick wrote. Based on the context provided in Discord, Skolnick appeared to indicate that Heat forward Andrew Wiggins was involved in the talks involving the Heat and Bucks. Looking at Wiggins' contract situation, he is set to be paid just over $28 million in the upcoming 2025-26 campaign before he has a player option attached to his deal for the 2026-27 season. Wiggins stands out as an obvious trade candidate for the Heat this offseason for more reasons than one. First, he doesn't necessarily fit Miami's timeline, considering he's 30 years old and will turn 31 in February of next year. Second, he has the skill set and playoff experience to make him an attractive trade option for plenty of contenders around the league. Wiggins is a two-way player capable of scoring the ball at an impressive rate while getting his hands dirty on the other side of the floor, and he knows what it takes to win an NBA title. He was an instrumental part of the Golden State Warriors team that captured the 2022 championship. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like. The Miami
Is a blockbuster trade for the Miami Heat in the works? Well, there is a buzz out there. There are some rumors that the Heat could actually look to trade Terry Rozier to the Utah Jazz for forward John Collins. And this comes off the back of a report from 5 Reasons Sports Network that the Heat are actively shopping Terry Rozier. And I know that there has been a report out there from Barry Jackson that alludes to maybe something differently a little bit there, but I do truly believe Miami is looking to trade Rozier. Wiggins could be a different conversation, but I do think that Rozier is a player Miami is looking to deal away. And we've been dropping content left and right this week during free agency and last week during the draft, so that is why you make sure you have your subscribers and notifications turned on. We have 3.1K people with their noties on. That's 13%. That number has to go up, but also make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a piece of content or video we put out. Well, we've seen this report from Jake Fisher, and I talked about it earlier in the week. One name I've heard for the Heat has been John Collins. Utah has been trying to move off of him seemingly for 2 years now. I do think if that does happen, his most likely spot would be Miami. He also mentioned DeRozan, but that's not the point of this. I also think DeRozan is not going to happen. And I will make this clear. If the Heat ultimately were to land John Collins, like it was alluded to in a small moment where if Collins got traded, it's likely going to be Miami. If he comes to the Heat, Andrew Wiggins or Terry Rozier would have to go to Utah for salary purposes. John Collins is on a 1-year expiring contract at $26.5 million. And Collins can play ball, man. He's a good player. Is he a needle mover? I think he's a needle mover if you have a really good roster in place, but he's not someone that is going to come from your group and just build out your roster. Like, he is not going to overhaul. He's not going to take it from where it is now in the play-in to a contending team. But he would take a contending team to, like, a championship-level team. That's the type of Collins or the player Collins is at this point in his career. Last season in 40 games for Utah, he averaged about 18.5 points per game, 9 rebounds while shooting 40% from 3 and 52% from the field. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal last season for the Utah Jazz when actually on the court. He would play alongside Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen. He would play alongside Walker. He would play alongside Markkanen. They were very versatile in that front court, and you could see Miami do something similar with Collins playing with Kel'el Ware, with Bam Adebayo, maybe with both of them, and just have a trio of rotating big men, if you will. So let me know as we go forward in this video. Are you interested in a potential John Collins trade? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Let me know your thoughts on Mr. JC, former Wake Forest Demon Deacon. His shot chart last year is very interesting because when I think of Collins, I think of him as a floor spacing big man for sure. I also think of him as someone who is really athletic and a lob threat to potentially finish around the rim. Just about 1% better than league average in the restricted area. Did finish really well inside the paint. As you see there, 51%, about 6.5% better than league average. He was a really good corner three-point shooter in Atlanta. Well, in Utah, he did shoot 50% from the right corner, unbelievably good, but really struggled from the left corner, which is fascinating because usually right-handed shooters are better from the left side of the floor. It just suits their eye. But an average mid-range shooter and a mid-range pick and pop. And he's actually a 2% better than league average three-point shooter from above the break. So you're looking for a big man that can defend fours, maybe some fives, and be a pick and pop guy. Collins is really good at that. And to further illustrate my point, John Collins last season in catch and shoot three-point scenarios shot exactly 40%. Now, we showed you the raw numbers that he shot 39.9%. Pretty much every single shot that Collins took from beyond the arc was off the catch. It's not like he's doing a dribble pull-up or the rare time he pump fake one dribble, then puts it up. Most of it's a catch and shoot three. So 3.5 attempts a night at 40%. Yeah, that's a pretty solid floor spacing big man that can work with Bam and work with Khalil Ware on the glass as well. So what would a John Collins trade look like? I mentioned Rozier. Well, I have two trade ideas I'll showcase on this show. Here is number one. This is the Terry Rozier deal. Rozier and Haywood Highsmith to the Jazz to get John Collins in return. And some people might say, well, why in the hell would I trade Haywood Highsmith alongside Rozier to get John Collins? Well, I do think even though Collins is a better player, they are similar in value, but not so crazy to where I'm offering any second round or first round draft capital to get off of Rozier's contract. And we've seen the reports. We've seen the quote unquote plan for the Miami Heat that's supposedly leaning into young guys. If we're leaning into young players to let them develop and develop into a larger role, then it makes Haywood Highsmith expendable. Let's look at the Miami Heat forwards that they have. Take away centers and big man. Take away the guards. You just look at players that play on the perimeter and on the wing. Andrew Wiggins, Jovic, Jaquez, Highsmith, Fontecchio after the Duncan Robinson trade, Kashad Johnson as a guaranteed team option, Kyle Anderson, and I even throw Palo Larson in there because he will play the three at times, just like Jovic will, just like Kyle Anderson will, and Kashad Johnson will. That's 8 players. That is 8. That is half your roster on this screen right now. It is way too crowded. It is. And if I am going to continue to lean into the youth movement, Kyle Anderson should never play. Rozier should never play. Haywood Highsmith's on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. Is he part of your long-term plans? He's a really good rotational player. I love Haywood Highsmith. I would be heartbroken if we lost him, to be honest. But I would understand why the Heat would get rid of him, because who else are you getting rid of in that crew? Because Anderson makes too much money to put him in that deal. Fontecchio probably makes too much money to put him in that deal. So it's like, what are you going to do here? Like, you want to lean into Jovic, you want to lean into Jaquez, you want to lean into Larson.
Troque pontos por descontos de até 100% em qualquer produto na Decolar. Além disso, com o passaporte Decolar, você acessa descontos exclusivos em atividades e hospedagens. Acesse o Apple site e veja como é fácil viver viajando. Cadastre-se grátis e comece a acumular.
Larson, Kashad Johnson. Well, how are those 4 going to play if you are also playing Highsmith, Wiggins, Fontecchio, and Anderson? One of those 4 has to go if you are truly leaning into a young movement. So I'm fine including one of those 4. It wouldn't be Wiggins because you can't put him and Rozier together. But let's just say one of Highsmith, Anderson, or Fontecchio, if it meant that was the sweetener to get a deal done for John Collins alongside Terry Rozier. We'll break more down here, but make sure you get your Miami Heat shirt on sale. Usually $30. Right now, you can get it for $16. When you go to chatsports.com/Heat shirt sale, that link's in the description and comments of today's video. Guess what, folks? Sizes are running out because of that awesome deal. Get yours today before there is none left. There's another added benefit to potentially making that deal where you trade Highsmith and Rozier to get John Collins. One, you would save $5.6 million. Collins and Rozier have the same exact contract. So that's a wash there. But if you include Highsmith in that deal and the Jazz take it all in, you are freeing up $5.6 million. You are currently $5.5 mil away from the luxury tax. So that would then give you $11 million to use in free agency if you wanted to sign a player to stay under the luxury tax. Or you could still use that non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Sure, you would go into the luxury tax, but you would go into it so barely that you would still be way underneath the first apron. And you would have that roster spot I mentioned. So, like, you get more space, you get a roster spot, because as we're currently looking, this team does not have enough shooting. It doesn't. With Duncan gone, Burks can't return either because there's no roster spot. Who is a three-point marksman? Like, Hero can shoot it, yeah. You hope that Jovic takes a step forward shooting it, Yakachonis. Like, you have guys that are capable of shooting, but you don't have a player that will force opposing defenses to react to them because of how good they are as three-point shooters. Most teams have one of those guys, or someone that will make another team pay if they don't pay attention to them. The Heat don't have that right now. You could add one if you make that move, free up a roster spot, and $5.6 million. The other trade idea is this one. It's including Andrew Wiggins rather than Terry Rozier. The Heat also get 2 second-round picks alongside John Collins in this deal. And the reason why this one could be a potentially better move is that you get way more expirings for this upcoming offseason. Plus, you would get a couple second-round picks. Like, think about this. If you made that trade and you kept Rozier, you would have John Collins on 26.5 expiring. You have then Rozier 26.6 expiring. That comes out to $53.1 million. Then you have Kyle Anderson non-guaranteed the following year. So he's practically expiring at $9 million. Anderson or Kevin Love at $4 million. Haywood Highsmith at 5.6. You made that deal and just swapped Wiggins for Collins, you have over $60 million in expiring money coming off your books to where you could then use it to be a major player in facilitating trades or in free agency next year. Plus, moving on from Andrew Wiggins gives you the ability to lean young, like we mentioned, start Jovic at the 3, start Jaquez at the 3, to where you now have a lineup of what I would do if you made that type of trade, of Yakachonis, Hero, Jovic, Bam Ware, with Jaquez, Larson, Collins being your bench players. That could be an added benefit there. Plus, you get 2 second-round picks to further address your draft capital. As we all know, Miami has a very limited amount of second-round picks, and it's been an issue for them not being able to get trades done. So let me know, what trade would you do, if any? Now, you might not want John Collins, but I put a gun in your head and we're trading for John Collins. Which one would you rather it be? The Rozier and Highsmith package, that's number 1. Or would it rather be the Andrew Wiggins one where you get Collins and 2 second-round picks from Utah? Type 1 for the first one, type number 2 for trade number 2. If I had to pick, I do think I would prefer to do the trade that has Rozier and Highsmith in it, because I do think you could get better value for Andrew Wiggins, whether it's from the Los Angeles Lakers or someone else at the trade deadline this upcoming year. I know it would be terrible to have him opt into that player option after the season, and then you don't really have that much space in the offseason and free agency and to help facilitate trades. But I think you could just do better in a return for Wiggins. And expiring in 2 second-round picks for Andrew Wiggins, I don't think is the best value. Plus, you don't create a roster spot that you could use in free agency. So despite you having more money to use next offseason, what I would rather do is trade Rozier and Highsmith, free up the money, free up a roster spot, get John Collins, and then look to try to make a separate Andrew Wiggins trade where you get more expiring salary and maybe a draft pick. That's kind of what I would do if the Heat were to trade for John Collins. But here is my final word, to be honest. Once again, if we're going full youth movement, why make a trade for a veteran like John Collins that will make us better? Like, I feel, and I know this is going to be hard for some Heat fans to understand, and it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it too, at least sometimes. Like, we want the Heat to make moves and get better. We do. But we also know that it's better if we get more developing time for these young guys let them go through growing pains, maybe be bad next year, and then have a top 10 pick with a lot of money to use in the offseason. Collins might win you about 4 or 5 extra games. Take away reps from Jovic, Jaquez, and other young guys. So even is it worth it to do that? That's the question. It's a double-sided sword. Do you want to get rid of Rozier's expiring for a better expiring player? I don't know. Like, I might just help Miami just to keep Rozier and just suck next year and have that be an expiring deal anyway. It's tough. It's tough decisions, man. It really, really is. But we'll continue to make sure you're covered on everything Miami Heat basketball. So make sure you subscribe because we're still dropping content.
Heat have been in a rough place since Jimmy Butler forced his way out of town and the franchise limped into the first round Eastern Conference playoffs as the number 8 seed, only to be promptly bounced by the Cleveland Cavaliers in 4 straight games. But things have been looking up for the franchise since, starting with Lithuanian guard and former Illinois star Kasparas Jakučionis inexplicably falling to Miami at number 20 in the NBA draft. Not only did the Heat get the number 10 player on my big board, they also got a player who fills a roster void and fits their culture and style of play perfectly. ESPN's Jonathan Givney wrote on June 28th, Jakučionis, 6'6", 205 pounds, has the ball handling and playmaking ability to offer much-needed shot creation in the backcourt, but he also is big enough to operate off the ball alongside all-star combo guard Tyler Herro. Now, just days later, another elite guard is positioned to fall into Miami's lap. The Milwaukee Bucks made the jaw-dropping decision to waive superstar guard Damian Lillard and stretch the remaining $112.5 million on his contract over the next 5 years. Milwaukee's call came on Tuesday, July 1st, the second day of free agency, just over 2 months after Lillard tore his Achilles tendon during the team's first-round playoff series against the eventual Eastern Conference champion Indiana Pacers. League sources say Lillard is elated with this decision as it puts him in the kind of basketball-first position that few all-star level players, if any, have experienced in league history, Sam Amick, John Hollinger, Eric Nehm, and Tobias Bass of The Athletic reported. In short, he'll be able to join the contending team of his choosing either sometime soon or perhaps next summer without the financial aspect of the decision playing a significant part. And you, fan, what do you think about Damian Lillard's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.